Hey sports card fans, it's John, Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Combining a memorable design with a large number of superstars, 1933 DeLong is a home run of a baseball card set. Unfortunately, it was also the only one the company ever issued. Competing head-to-head with the first Gehrig release, issued the same year, the colorful tandem offered a palate-pleasing array of choices for young collectors. Designated in the American card catalog as R333, the DeLongs are now the rarest and most revered gum sets of the 1930s. The cards measure 1 15/16 by 2 15/16 inches, which is slightly smaller than today's standard baseball card, but they were taller than most of the other gum sets in the 1930s. Not only do they stand out physically, the 1933 DeLong design features a black and white action photo of the player, die-cut against a colorful stadium backdrop. Furthermore, the positioning of the player in the card's foreground and placed inside a surrounding miniature ballpark gives the illusion that the player was larger than life. Many collectors consider this one of the most attractive sets of the era. Most 1933 DeLong cards are vertically oriented, but two players, Pepper Martin and Lefty Grove, are featured horizontally, which makes their cards appear panoramic. The 1933 DeLong card backs feature a playing tip by Boston area sports writer Austin Lake. In addition, card backs include the card number and an ad for DeLong gum. A very small set by today's standards at just 24 total cards. What makes the set even more unique is that over half the players in the checklist would go on to become Hall of Fame members. As a result, the cards are very appealing to collectors. The biggest star included in the checklist is by far Lou Gehrig, whose card accounts for a majority of the set's total value. Joining him on the 1933 DeLong checklist are such greats as Jimmy Fox, Kai Kyler, and Pie Traynor, to name a few. One might think that with just 24 cards, it would be a relatively simple set to complete. However, you'd be wrong. Gehrig clearly won the battle that year and, as a result, are much easier to find in comparison even to this day. Finding DeLong cards in any condition is difficult, let alone cards in a condition higher than a grade of 5. As is often the case with popular early tobacco, gum, and caramel issues, whose original versions are much too pricey for most collectors, a 1933 DeLong reprint set is available and can serve as a nice representation. While obviously not holding any substantial monetary value from a collectible standpoint, adding one to your collection won't break the bank and may provide the only way of actually holding anything resembling an authentic issue. In this video, I'm going to show the top 10 most valuable cards from the 1933 DeLong set based on their PSA 3 values. Also give the values of those cards in higher grades, as well as the population count of those grades. Now, as a side note, because some cards have very low population counts, the values in some grades might not reflect current prices, since it may be a year or two or even more since a copy in that grade has been sold. In those cases, the price shown for the card is from the most recent sale in VCP's database. Now, before I get to the top 10, here are the cards that just missed the top 10. At number 15, the Riggs Stevenson card. At number 14, the Lefty O'Doul card. At number 13, the Goose Goslin card. At number 12, the Chuck Klein card. And at number 11, the Chick Hayfie card. So, which cards made the top 10 list? Let's go find out. Coming in at number 10, we have the Bill Terry card. In a PSA 3, there have been 28 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $365. There have been 21 graded at PSA 4, the last one selling for $690. There have been 23 graded at PSA 5, the last one selling for $445. There have been 20 graded to PSA 6, the last one selling for $776. There have been 16 graded to PSA 7, the last one selling for $1,110. And there have been 16 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in December of 2022 through Memory Lane and sold for $2,124. And just like all but one of the cards on this top 10 list, there have been no PSA 9 copies graded of the Bill Terry card. And just like everyone on this top 10 list, there has not been a PSA 10 graded copy of the Bill Terry card. At number 9, we have the Rabbit Moranville card. In a PSA 3, there have been 22 graded copies with the current VCP average price of $378. There have been 15 graded to PSA 4, the last one selling for $521. There have been 18 graded to PSA 5, the last one selling for $261. There have been 16 graded to PSA 6, the last one selling for $810. There have also been 16 graded to PSA 7, the last one also selling for $810. And there have been 8 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in December of 2022 through Memory Lane and sold for $2,570. At number 8, we have the Charlie Garinger card. In a PSA 3, there have been 19 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $449. There have been 23 graded to PSA 4, the last one selling for $726. There have been 19 graded to PSA 5, the last one selling for $810. There have been 15 graded to PSA 6, the last one selling for $725. There have been 10 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $1,508. And there have been 6 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in December of 2022 through Memory Lane and sold for $3,212. At number 7, we have the Lefty Gomez card. In a PSA 3, there have been 26 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $467. There have been 30 graded to PSA 4, the last one selling for $551. There have been 16 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $430. There have been 21 graded to PSA 6, the last one selling for $529. There have been 10 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $1,204. And there have been 17 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in September of 2022 through Memory Lane and sold for $3,509, placing the Lefty Gomez at the number 5 spot in terms of PSA 8 graded copies on this top 10 list. At number 6, we have the Mickey Cochran card. In a PSA 3, there have been 25 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $519. There have been 14 graded a PSA 4, the last one selling for $406. There have been 12 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $710. There have been 6 graded a PSA 6, the last one selling for $870. There have been 11 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $4,200. And there have been 3 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in December of 2022 through that Memory Lane auction and sold for $6,226, placing the Mickey Cochran card at the number 4 spot in terms of PSA 8 graded copies on this list. At number 5, we have the Kai Kyler card. In a PSA 3, there have been 13 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $525. There have been 25 graded a PSA 4, the last one selling for $690. There have been 23 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $768. There have been 10 graded a PSA 6, the last one selling for $660. There have been 12 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $2,761. And there have been 4 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in August of 2019 through Memory Lane and sold for $2,656. At number 4, we have the Lefty Grove card. In a PSA 3, there have been 16 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $545. There have been 13 graded a PSA 4, the last one selling for $975. There have been 28 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $1,300. There have been 15 graded a PSA 6, the last one selling for $1,560. There have been 20 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $2,230. And there have been 6 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in December of 2022 in that Memory Lane auction and sold for $20,686, placing the Lefty Grove at the number 2 spot in terms of PSA 8 graded copies on this list. At number 3, we have the Pie Trainer card. In a PSA 3, there have been 19 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $638. There have been 31 graded a PSA 4, the last one selling for $609. There have been 22 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $1,585. There have been 17 graded a PSA 6, the last one sold for $780. There have been 18 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $1,230. There have been 13 graded a PSA 8, the last one selling for $3,002. And there has been 1 graded a PSA 9. The last PSA 9 sale took place in December of 2022 through that Memory Lane auction and sold for $75,031. At number 2, we have the Jimmy Fox card. In a PSA 3, there have been 31 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $1,775. There have been 20 graded a PSA 4, the last one selling for $1,950. There have been 20 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $2,799. There have been 14 graded a PSA 6, the last one selling for $2,400. There have been 6 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $2,640. And there have been 9 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in January of 2024 through Memory Lane and sold for $19,541, placing the Jimmy Fox card at the number 3 spot in terms of PSA 8 graded copies on this list. And of course, at number 1 is the Lou Gehrig card. In a PSA 3, there have been 25 graded copies with a current VCP average price of $15,487. There have been 33 graded a PSA 4, the last one selling for $15,865. There have been 31 graded a PSA 5, the last one selling for $20,470. There have been 11 graded a PSA 6, the last one selling for $22,800. There have been 11 graded a PSA 7, the last one selling for $46,111. And there have been 8 graded a PSA 8. The last PSA 8 sale took place in that December 2022 Memory Lane auction and sold for $135,484, placing the Lou Gehrig also at the number 1 spot in terms of PSA 8 graded copies on this top 10 list. Well, there you go, the top 10 most valuable cards from the 1933 DeLong set. As always, would love to know what you think about the set and the cards that made the top 10 list. And stay tuned for next week's episode, in which I take a look at the top 10 most valuable 1933 Tattoo Orbit set. And if you missed either of the last two videos in this series, you can check them out right here. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.